it is my highest honor to introduce the next governor of South Carolina, my father, Alan Wilson.
Wow. Oh, Clint Hudson's cutting onions back there. A lot of onions, folks, a lot of onions. It is great to be here. I know it is warm. I know a lot of you, most of you are standing, and I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible. But wow, what an emotional time for me. As I look around this room, I'm just in awestruck. And before I say anything, I don't want to do a moment of silence, but I want to pause long enough to think about what's going over in the Middle East. As we pray for our president, to our service members, to the men and women in uniform across this country and across this world, just pause for a second or two just to think of them as we navigate a very complex world. Moving on, I want to thank Hudson's Barbecue, the Hudson family. I want to thank the speakers who were just up here. There are a number of elected officials in the audience, and there's going to be an opportunity for me to identify them in the days, weeks, and months to come. And if I start doing the name thing, then I'm going to go down a rabbit hole from which I will never come, and it is very warm in here. So I'm not going to do that. But everyone in here has a special relationship to me. Real quick, in the back room, as we were preparing to come out here, I had my hometown pastor from Saxe-Gotha, Pastor Joel. I also had Chaplain Shugart, who all of you just heard from. And my dear friend, my birthday buddy, Pastor Charles Jackson, was there back in the back praying over all of us. His son Charles Jr. is back there. We've had a special relationship with that family for many years. And so I feel like the hand of God is on us tonight because of the spiritual leadership we have around here. Thank you all so much. As I look around this room, I'm filled with a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for my family, for my friends, and for the supporters who've stood by me through every challenge and every triumph over these last several years. Serving as your Attorney General has been a great honor, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your hard work and support. Together, we fought to keep people safe, uphold the rule of law, and protect our freedoms. The people of South Carolina called on us to serve, and we delivered with honesty and integrity. You see, public service and sacrifice runs deep in my family. Serving others is who we are. It's in our bones. My story begins with my biological father, Michael Allen McCrory, a Vietnam veteran who was stationed in Fort Jackson in the early 1970s. He met and fell in love with a young school teacher who's named Roxanne. Daddy Mike, as I call him, became an Army helicopter pilot, and just a few years later, when I was 2 years old, he was tragically killed in a training accident in Fort Bragg. Heartbroken, my mom returned home to South Carolina as a young widow with a toddler. Her strength and determination during those difficult years impacted me greatly. It shaped me into much of who I am today. When I was 4 years old, Mom got remarried to a young man that many of you know today, Joe Wilson. From day one, he treated me as his own son. Throughout my childhood, he would enter the room every night and pray with me beside my bed. Next to my bed, on the nightstand, were two photos, one of him and one of my biological father, Daddy Mike. He insisted on having both photos beside my bed because he wanted me to never forget where I came from. He constantly reminded of how blessed I was to not have one father, but to have had two fathers that loved me with all of their hearts. Dad went on to serve for 31 years in the National Guard, achieving the rank of colonel. He was elected to the South Carolina State Senate and eventually to the United States Congress. During his years of service, He brought my brothers and me to countless events, quietly instilling in us a sense of duty to serve our community and our country. My brothers are sprinkled throughout here. I think some are back here. Some drove a long way. I see Julian, Ad, Hunter's in here somewhere. But they could speak to this as well. It certainly left its mark on me, the way my dad raised us. Because of how we were raised, my brothers and I are all Eagle Scouts and all military officers who have served overseas. That is not a humble brag on us. That is a humble brag on our parents and how they raised us. As for me, I've served 29 years in the Army National Guard, including a combat tour in Iraq. I began my military career as a field artillery officer, later transferring to the Judge Advocate General Corps. I served as the state judge advocate for the South Carolina Army National Guard, and now I currently serve as a colonel in National Guard Bureau in Washington, D.C. I've served as an intelligence analyst for the Drug Enforcement Administration. I've served as a local prosecutor, as the sheriff talked about, and as an assistant attorney general. I have prosecuted violent crimes, crimes against children, and drug cases. It was during this time that I became committed to being a voice for victims and standing for justice, like Miss Laura talked about. There's one case that stands out to me as to why I'm so committed to this type of service. I once prosecuted a case involving a young woman who, between the ages of 12 and 15, had been sexually abused by a man who was not only her grandfather, but was a retired police officer. During those years of abuse, this young girl's grandfather would tell her that no one would ever believe her if she spoke out because he was a cop and she was a kid. He told her that all he needed was one juror to have reasonable doubt, and he would walk. Imagine being a 13-year-old girl and not knowing how to reconcile that. He even told her that if she came forward, it would destroy the family. He was right about that one. And they would take her away. After 4 years of abuse, she found the courage, she came forward, and by the time she was 19 years old, it finally made it to trial, and I was the prosecutor assigned to it. It was an 8-day-long trial that tore this family apart. At the end of this case, this man was convicted and sentenced to 18 years in prison for what he had done to his granddaughter. Now, as he was being let out in shackles, this young woman and I were walking out of the courthouse, and I remember looking over to her, and I looked at her eyes. They were red, and her eyes were very teary. I asked her if she was okay, and she responded to me that for the first time in her life, she was not a victim, but a survivor. It was at that moment that I realized that I had played a role in helping this young woman transition from being a victim to being a survivor. I played a role in taking power from the bad guy and helping to give it to the good guy. I was able to be a voice for a person who had no voice. This is the moment when I became committed to dedicating my life to public service. That same commitment to service is what led me to run for Attorney General, and it's what drives me today. I'm proud of our winning efforts to defend liberty and protect the people of South Carolina. We promised to deliver results, and we did just that. We fought to protect children from dangerous predators by quadrupling the size of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, resulting in thousands of predators being prosecuted. We fought to protect our most vulnerable. Thank you, Rich. We fought to protect our most vulnerable by creating the South Carolina State Human Trafficking Task Force, transforming South Carolina into the national gold standard in how to combat human trafficking. We fought to protect women and children from abuse by pushing to reform our state's domestic violence laws, giving more tools to law enforcement and prosecutors to go after domestic batterers. We fought for generational reforms to make it easier for victims to get the help they need and the help that they deserve. Thank you, Laura. We fought cartels and violent gangs by catching them and prosecuting them. We have seized tens of millions of dollars in fentanyl, meth, cocaine, heroin, and counterfeit prescription drugs. We have taken hundreds of drug traffickers and drug dealers off the streets, and we are still waging a war on them today. We fought to bring more accountability to the judicial system through long overdue reforms to how we elect judges. And we're just getting started. We fought to aggressively go after violent crimes by hiring more prosecutors, investigators, and victims advocates dedicated to breaking the backlog of violent criminal cases. We've defended parental rights, religious liberty, the Second Amendment, free market capitalism, public safety, and the unborn. And we fought back against the federal government, especially against some of those serving during the Obama and Biden years, when those particular individuals ignore the rule of law and attempt to enforce their radical agendas on the American people. Radical activists opened our borders, eroded Title IX protections for women and girls, and basically promoted a radical agenda, climate agenda, that stifled businesses with impossible standards. As your Attorney General, I stood in the gap as the last line of defense to protect South Carolina from this reckless and unconstitutional policies. And when many on the far, far left across the country sought to weaponize the legal system to target President Trump because he was a political threat, we fought back. I proudly sat behind President Trump in the courthouse during his trial, and I fought with him every way that I knew how to. He's had our back, and I've got his. Think about this. If the law can be weaponized against someone like him, imagine what it can be done to someone like you or me. Now, I'm so proud of what we've accomplished, the fights we've taken on, and the results that we have delivered. But today marks the beginning of a new fight, a fight to lead South Carolina into the future with the energy of a new generation and an unwavering respect for our South Carolina values. We have already delivered meaningful results for the hardworking people who power our state, but we cannot stop there. We have not come this far only to go this far. Our state can reach even greater heights. Explosive economic growth, a full shutdown of wasteful government spending, better education for more children, a revitalized infrastructure. But it requires a fighter to get us there, a battle-tested conservative and a proven winner who will never stop until the job is done. It demands a leader who understands the duty of service and what it means to answer the call. I am ready to lead that fight, to turn the page from what our state could be to what our state will soon be. That is why today I am announcing my candidacy to be the next governor for the great state of South Carolina. Together, we will reach our full potential and capitalize on the opportunities in front of us. We'll leave no stone unturned, no call unanswered. We will again deliver for the people of South Carolina and reclaim our standing as the envy of the South, a beacon of opportunity. As your governor, we'll deliver meaningful relief to hardworking people. We're going to finally eliminate the state income tax. 3 states in the Southeast have already done it, and nearly half a dozen more are doing it right now. We can do it. More money in more people's pockets. It's the right thing to do for workers, businesses, and families, and it will be the jet fuel our state needs to strengthen its competitive advantage in the region. No more losing businesses to North Carolina, Georgia, or Florida, making it easier to start a business and inviting existing ones to plant roots here benefits all of us. We'll create more jobs, drive more investment into the economy, and create more opportunities for you and your families. We're going to Doge South Carolina government from top to bottom. No more fraudulent or wasteful spending. Under my administration, we'll take cutting-edge AI technologies to audit all state agencies, school districts, municipalities, and county governments who receive any state-appropriated funds. We will root out waste, fraud, and abuse, and we will expose it. If the government is wasting your hard-earned tax dollars, then I will fight to make sure every penny is spent for you and your families. And that includes cutting pork from the state budget. Where there's a budget surplus, that money should be used for relief, not political favors. I will renew all efforts to reform our regulatory environment. Regulators should be there to protect consumers and provide predictability to businesses. Unfortunately, many businesses and industries are being crushed by a regulatory scheme that is arbitrary, complex, and overly bureaucratic. That's going to change. We're going to continue on judicial reform, and we're going to continue to do more of it, and we're going to get it over the goal line. That means no more outsized influence from a select small group of legislators and individuals who are projecting over our judicial system. We're going to end it. This also means providing businesses with a legal climate that fosters fairness, transparency, predictability, and accountability. Gone will be the days when business owners are bombarded with frivolous lawsuits and forced to shutter their doors. It means bringing South Carolina out of what many commentators have called us, rightly or wrongly, a judicial hellhole. We're going to transform our education system, delivering universal school choice, increasing access to our technical colleges, and prioritizing math and reading comprehensions for all children at an earlier age. We will do this because every family should have the choices they need and every student should have the opportunities they deserve. We need to ensure that our education system is the kind of system that attracts and retains the best teachers. Our children deserve no less than the best. We need to beef up our state's dual enrollment program. Students in every school district in the state should have the option, if they want it, to complete up to 2 years of general education requirements for college before they even graduate high school. This will drastically reduce the cost of college for many families, and it will help speed up the pipeline for young people to enter the workforce with good-paying jobs. Next, we're going to prioritize our state's infrastructure, clearer roads, less congestion, and a smarter growth that respects the character of our communities. Families are spending too much time stuck in traffic, and economic development is being hindered because there is a disconnect between state government and local government. We can do better, and I will lead that charge. To my fellow South Carolinians, this is just the start of what I believe we can achieve together in the years to come. I'm ready to fight for you, and I'm ready to win for South Carolina. To my family, none of this would be possible without you. I have aunts and uncles in here. I have cousins. See my brothers, sisters-in-law, nieces, nephews. But I also want to give a special shout out to my immediate family, my children, Michael and Anna Grace. As I prepare to take on this campaign for governor, I want you to know that you are my greatest motivation and that I love you very much. Being your dad will always be my favorite job. Jennifer, over the last several years, I've watched you overcome so much. I remember the courage and determination you had when you were diagnosed with breast cancer. I remember all that you endured. I remember the day that I shaved your head on the back porch with the kids because your hair had started falling out. I remember the biopsies, the double mastectomy, the numerous reconstructive surgeries, and the 6 months of brutal chemotherapy that made you so sick so often. When I think about how difficult this campaign is going to be over the next 12 months, I want you to know that I will be thinking of you often. Watching your courage and perseverance as you battled cancer was an inspiration to me. I could not do this without your love and support. Thank you for being by my side from the very, very beginning. I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, today we embark on a fight that will test each of us and our state to the core. If you will indulge me for just one more brief moment, we're near the end, I promise. I'd like to share with you a story about a moment that shaped me at my core. Chaplain Shugart alluded to it earlier, and I don't like talking about it, but I'm going to right now. In August of 2004, I was commanding a 14-vehicle convoy through downtown Mosul in northern Iraq when an IED exploded outside of my Humvee and the tractor trailer following shortly behind me. The explosion was loud and it was violent. Black smoke and soot enveloped the entire outside of my vehicle. The light of day turned to black of night in an instant. I distinctly remember my ears were ringing loudly and it was difficult to hear anything. There were 2 other soldiers in the Humvee with me, and the extent of the damage to our vehicle and the vehicles around us was unknown to me at that time. What I did know is that we had trained for the expectation that when insurgents detonated an explosive device, the intent was to stop the convoy so that they could open fire on soldiers stopping to help the disabled vehicles. Fortunately for us, that did not happen on that particular day, but we did not know that at that time. I was preparing to call on the radio for the lead vehicle, which had a machine gun mounted on top of it, to drive back into the kill zone and secure it to make sure that in case we were attacked again, we had fire cover. Before I could even cue the mic, I looked out of my window, and through the smoke as it slowly cleared, I could see those young soldiers in the lead gunship vehicle pulling back into the kill zone, where my vehicle and the tractor trailer were located. They crawled onto a burning tractor trailer immediately behind me and pulled out the 2 drivers. They secured them into the vehicle seconds before that tractor trailer was engulfed in a giant fireball. These soldiers did this without any regard for their personal safety, and they did this not knowing whether other IEDs would be detonated or whether insurgents would be shooting at them. As soon as I confirmed that our soldiers were safely secured, I immediately ordered all vehicles to clear the area. We then drove several miles to a forward operating base to secure our remaining payload and to take stock at what had just happened to all of us. What I later learned was that shrapnel from the explosion disabled the truck behind me, causing it to catch on fire. That same shrapnel then tore through my vehicle, missing me and the other 2 passengers by mere inches. The same shrapnel that ripped through my vehicle traveled 50 yards into the vehicle in front of us, tearing through the pant legs of the soldiers standing up in the Humvee behind the machine gun. Had that shrapnel been half an inch off, it would have blown that soldier's leg off. While we lost one of our transport trucks and its payload, we did not lose one person that day. No soldiers were injured. That moment in time back in August of 2004 was a pivotal point in my life. First, it impressed upon me that God is always in control, even when things seem dark and difficult. Second, the courage of those young soldiers who acted without any personal regard for their own safety inspires me to this day to find the courage to act in difficult situations regardless of the consequences. Lastly, it reminds me not to take for granted the life I have been blessed with since that fateful day. Every big decision I have made over the last 20 years has in some way been influenced by that life-changing event, that pivotal moment. My decision to run for governor, it's no different. That life-changing moment for me 21 years ago was a pivotal point in my life, just as this election is a pivotal point for South Carolina. This is a moment in time that will positively shape our state's future for generations to come. It won't be easy, but I never shy away from a fight. So everybody, It's time to get to work. Thank you. Thank you all. God bless you all. And God bless the great state of South Carolina.